Do you want to create something unique and special for your furry friend? Look no further than this macrame cat bed that will not only impress your feline friend, but it will make a great stylish addition to your home decor. My name is Nicole and welcome back to Boutique Macrame. In this tutorial, I am super excited to be sharing with you guys something unique and special for your feline friends. Our goal today is to guide you through the process of making a stunning macrame cat bed. We will go through all the tips and tricks to make this project a success. A few things to note is that you will need 2 large metal rings. I've used a slightly smaller one at the top and a larger one at the bottom. The one at the top I've used a 10-inch ring, and then the one at the bottom at the widest part is a 14-inch ring. To make sure that the cords are evenly spaced throughout when attaching the cords onto the rings, I would recommend starting off on the table to attach one side onto the ring first, and then hang up your ring on a hanger or a rack to finish off the remainder of the side. So then you can adjust both sides to make sure that it is balanced and straight. Because we are using a 14-inch ring at the bottom, any pillow or round cushion that is smaller than 14-inch will fit nicely inside. A lot of the pillows I found were 13-inch or 13.7 inches, which fits really nicely into the ring. And with all of that said, let's get right into it.
Like I've mentioned in the intro, you will need a few other materials other than macrame cord for this project. The cord that I will be using for this hanging cat bed is a 4mm single strand cotton cord from our rainbow cord line. This is in our metal gray color. I wanted a thickness for this hanging cat bed that's not too thin, but then also not too thick, so that you can still make some intricate knot patterns. And 4mm is just the right in-between size. This cord is not only soft, but it is sturdy, and so it is great to knot with at all skill levels. It also helps elevate any macrame piece because of its beautiful aesthetic. If you are interested in any of these cords, it's available on boutique.com or US and Canada Amazon. The rings that we will be using today are a 10-inch metal ring and a 14-inch metal ring. You guys can find the 10-inch ring within our metal rings pack on the Boutique shop, and the 14-inch ring you can find on Amazon or at your local craft store. To begin, we're going to take our 7 strands of 350 centimeter long cords, and we're going to gather them together and make sure the ends are matched together and even. And then towards the middle section, what we're going to do is take our 420 centimeter strand of cord, and we're going to measure to 170 centimeters on one end. Measure to 170 centimeters and then hold that spot. Place the 170 centimeter end facing the top, and then with the bottom longer end, we're going to make a series of vertical lark's head knots. So you can see on the top end here is the 170 centimeter long end, and then we're taking the bottom longer end and we're going to make the knots. We're going to make a loop knot over to the left side, taking the same cord, we're going to go underneath and through the loop on the left to finish our first vertical lark's head knot. Now taking the bottom end, we're going to repeat this again for another vertical lark's head knot. Continue repeating these vertical lark's head knots downwards until you have made a total of 8 vertical lark's head knots. We've made 2, now make 6 more underneath. Once we have made all 8 vertical lark's head knots, make sure that the working cord ends from the lark's head knots are even with the gathered cords on both sides. So make sure that if they're not even, to straighten them out. And then hold this vertical lark's head knot up at the top and make sure that the cord ends on both sides are even at the bottom. So this part will form the handle of the cat bed. So once all the cords at the bottom are nice and even, what we're going to do is take a 50 centimeter strand of cord and make a gathering knot. Wrap the long end around several times before taking the cord end through the loop to tighten. Then cut off the excess cords from the gathering knot. For this next part, we're going to work in groups of 4 cords. So we're going to separate out 4 cords here first. And what we're going to do here is make 2 double half hitch knot daisy patterns. So starting with the middle 2 cords, make a diagonal double half hitch knot to the left, then make 1 more to the left after that, and then with the middle right cord, make 1 diagonal double half hitch knot to the right. Then to close off this double half hitch knot diamond, we're going to use the same anchor cord on the left side and make a double half hitch knot towards the middle. Repeat the same thing on the right side and then finish off with 1 more diagonal double half hitch to the left at the bottom. Now directly underneath, repeat 1 more double half hitch knot daisy pattern. Now repeat this pattern all around with the remaining 4 cord sections. Now for this next part, we're going to add cord partway through. To do that, we're going to attach cords onto the loops in between these daisy patterns. So you see those small little loops in between those 2 daisy patterns. What we're going to do is take a 320 centimeter strand of cord, fold it in half. We're going to thread it through bottom up to make a reverse lark's head knot. Then repeat the same thing again on the pattern to the right. If the loop is too tight, try pulling it and stretching out more to make a little hole. Now we're going to separate out the cords on the sides, and we're going to just leave the 4 cord ends we had just attached, and now we're going to repeat for another daisy pattern. Now continue on finishing the daisy pattern just like we did the other ones. Once we're done with this, repeat this pattern 3 more times around in between the rest of the 2 daisy columns. Once you're complete with this pattern, this is what it should look like. There should be 4 daisies in between the 2 daisy columns. Now what we're going to do is separate out the cords in half. You want to make sure that you separate between the left and right sides with the handle facing the front. So that means the front of the lark's head knots, that's the front part of the handle. And now we're going to split the part directly underneath that in half. So make sure half of the cords are on the left side, half of the cords on the right side, and now we're going to place the left side here facing the bottom vertically, and we're going to take our smaller 10-inch ring on top, and we're going to attach all of the cords at the bottom here onto the ring with double half hitch knots. Start off by leaving about 5 inches to 6 inches of space directly underneath the daisy patterns to the ring, and then attach those cords one by one onto the ring using double half hitch knots. Once you attach the other side on, you may need to come back and readjust this side, and that is okay. You want to make sure that it is even once it is hung up. So we're going to start on the table here on a flat surface by attaching one side onto the ring first, and then we will hang up the pattern and finish the other side. Continue the double half hitch knots until this entire side is attached onto the ring with double half hitch knots. Once the left side is attached, what we're going to do is attach the cords on the right side onto the right side of the ring. Now I do encourage you for this part to hang up the pattern on a rack or have someone hold it if you don't have a rack, so that you can see where the ring sits, so that it sits evenly on both sides. You can also just place it down and attach all the cords first and then hang it up afterwards and then adjust accordingly on both sides. So now flip the pattern over so that the right cords are sitting facing the bottom, and then attach all the cords at the bottom one by one onto the other side of the ring. For this next part, what we're going to do is work on the back side, so it's where you can see the lark's head knots on the back of the handle. So what we're going to do is take our 14 strands of cord at 250 centimeters long, and we're going to attach each of them onto the back side of the ring, so that empty space there in between the cords, we're going to attach all 14 cords there with reverse lark's head plus half hitch knots. Now repeat this 13 more times to the left. Once that is done, this is what the pattern should look like. You should have 14 reverse lark's head plus half hitch knots at the back. Now what we're going to do is work with our super long cords at 500 centimeters long, so we have 4 of those, and on one end we're going to measure up to 130 centimeters. Once you have measured that part, hold on to that part and we're going to make an overhand knot just to mark that spot. Place that 130 centimeter end facing the top, and we're going to pin or tape that knot down. Then underneath, what we're going to do is make a series of double half hitch knot daisies. Once you have made 1 daisy, we're going to repeat below for 9 more, which means that there are going to be a total of 10 double half hitch knot daisy patterns. One thing to note when making these double half hitch knot daisies is to make sure that we have it curving to one side. You can see here that I'm trying to curve it over to the right. We're just making a slight curve, which means that we're going to leave a little bit of space on the left side in between the daisies, and then we're going to tighten up the right side so that we can have the pattern curve towards the right. Once done, this is what the pattern should look like. You should have a slight U-shaped double half hitch knot daisy pattern. And now we're going to untie the overhand knot and attach it onto the front side of the ring. Once you have untied the overhand knot, the bottom part should have 2 shorter cords and 2 longer cords. The 2 shorter cords should be approximately 130 centimeters, which matches up the cords up at the top. And then there should be 2 longer cords that are much longer. And we're going to cut off the excess longer cord ends. So once that is done, we will now attach this pattern onto the front side of the ring. Flip the daisy pattern to the back and then bring the cords through the inside of the ring. Then attach the cords on both sides onto the ring using double half hitch knots. Once the double half hitch knots are made on both sides, flip the pattern down and you should see that it is sitting nicely in front of the ring. Now taking our single 200 centimeter strand of cord, we're going to measure one end to 60 centimeters and we're going to hold that spot. Then we're going to bring that 60 centimeter end facing the left side, and so the longer cord end should be facing the right side, and we're going to use the long end to make a series of vertical lark's head knots again all the way to the right side. So starting on the left side of the front of the ring pattern, make a vertical lark's head knot. What you're seeing now is the back side of the reverse lark's head knots. If you look inside the ring, you will see the lark's head knot pattern there. Now we're going to repeat this again to the right side. What we're going to do is make a total of 12 vertical lark's head knots. So we've made 1.5 here. We're going to finish off the second one, and then we're going to make 10 more after that. You're going to count the total of vertical lark's head knots from the inside of the ring. So as you can see here, the 2 loops from the inside. Once the 12 vertical lark's head knots are complete, you will see 2 strings hanging out on the left and right side, and we're going to use those as anchor cords for a row of double half hitch knots all the way to the back. So starting on the left side, take the next vertical cord down as a working cord for a double half hitch knot, then continue all the way to the side, stopping at the middle back. The middle part should be when you have made a total of 34 double half hitch knots on this side. And then we're going to repeat the same thing on the right side. So now that this left side is complete, stopping at the middle of the back, we're going to do the same thing on the right side. So once the row of double half hitch knots are done on the left and right sides, there should be 2 shorter anchor cords hanging out at the back. We're going to ignore that for now and come back to it later. For this next part, we're going to start on the left side first. I've separated out the left side cords at the bottom here, and we're going to work with these cords first before working with the remaining cords on the other side. What we're going to do is work with groups of 4 cords each, and we're going to make a single daisy pattern with every 4 cords. So there are a total of 6 sections here. We're going to make 6 daisy patterns underneath each 4 cord section. There should be a total of 8 that you can make on the left side. Here you see I have 8 daisy patterns. And then at the back, you will see 2 extra cords next to it. And we're going to ignore those cords for now and come back to it later. Now we're going to repeat the same pattern on the right side, skipping the 2 cords at the back. So once you're done with the 8 individual daisy patterns here, you should have 4 cords left over at the back. We're going to leave these 4 cords as is. We're going to, however, take the 2 shorter anchor cords from above, and we're going to make a diagonal double half hitch knot. Now for this next part, we're going to attach all of our vertical cords onto our larger 14-inch ring with double half hitch knots. For this next part, we're going to leave about 40 centimeters of space underneath the row of double half hitch knot daisy patterns, and to the point where we're going to attach the cords onto the ring. So leave approximately 40 centimeters of space. If you want a little bit more, you can do so. There should be some room for an extra long gap in between the rings. Start off on one side first with a few double half hitch knots, then make a few double half hitch knots on the other side while hung up to make sure both sides are even, then fill in the rest of the double half hitch knots at the back. So here you see I have double half hitch knots on the left and double half hitch knots on the right, and I've hung it up to make sure it is even. And now I'm going to attach the rest of the double half hitch knots on both sides. So once the cords are attached on both sides, there should be a small gap at the back and a larger gap at the front. So if that's not what you have, adjust your double half hitch knots accordingly so that there's a small gap at the back and then a big gap at the front. You will know how big of a gap you'll need at the front and the back once we start attaching the cords at the front and back. Starting with the back side first, take 6 strands of 140 centimeter long cords and attach it onto the back gap with reverse lark's head plus half hitch knots. Now that the gap is filled at the back, we're going to head to the front and repeat the same pattern. We're going to take 16 strands of 140 centimeter long cords and attach them to the front gap with reverse lark's head plus half hitch knots. Once the cords are attached all around, we will now start with the cords on the front gap first. We're going to find the middle 8 cords. So we're going to separate out the rest of the cords on both sides, and we're just working with the cords that we had attached on the front gap. With the middle 8 cords, take the middle left cord as an anchor cord and make a row of 3 diagonal double half hitch knots to the left. Then with the middle right cord, repeat the same thing to the right. Then underneath with the middle left cord, do the same thing, make 3 diagonal double half hitch knots to the left. But with this row, we're going to leave a small gap in between the knots. So here you can see I'm not going to pull on it super tight. I'm going to leave about 1 centimeter of space in between the rows. And then finish off the same thing with the last double half hitch knot. Now repeat the same pattern on the right side. Now underneath on both sides, make another row of double half hitch knots diagonally to the sides, leaving a little bit of space on both sides as well. Once done, we're going to take the 2 anchor cords on both sides, bring them to the center for a diagonal double half hitch knot. Now what we're going to do is we're going to separate out the front 4 cords and separate out the back 4 cords. So take the front 4 cords, and what we're going to do is we're going to gather them at the front and make a gathering knot. Once you have the front 4 cords separated, before making the gathering knot, we're just going to leave a few inches and cut off some excess cords at the bottom. So you should see I have about 5 inches of space left over at the bottom of this. And now we're going to take those scrap cords, which should be approximately 30 centimeters long, take one of them and make a gathering knot at the bottom of the shell pattern. Use the excess cords as working cords for the gathering knots all around. Now what we're going to do is skip the next 4 cords on both sides, and then with the next 8 cords after that, make another set of shell pattern tassels. Now continue repeating this pattern by skipping the next 4 cords and then taking the next 8 cords after that and making shell pattern tassels. Once you're done, you should be left over with 8 cords at the back. So you should have 4 cords in between every shell tassel section except for the very back, where you should have 8 cords left over. Now we're going to make 2 square knots here side by side, and then 1 square knot in the middle underneath. Then with the rest of the 4 cord sections in between all of the shell patterns, we're just going to make a singular square knot. Repeat this all around. Now what we're going to do is take the 4 cords at the back of the shell pattern, and we're also going to add a square knot there. Repeat this underneath all of the shell patterns. So once all the square knots have been made at the bottom, we can now gather all of the loose cords at the bottom except for the shorter tassels, which we're going to leave hanging at the front, and we're going to leave several inches of space underneath and then make a gathering knot, gathering all the cords together at the bottom. You will need to adjust this part depending on the size of your pillow that you will want to have fitted in this netting here. Once you have gathered all the cords, take your 100 centimeter long cord and make a gathering knot. I do recommend doing this while hung up, since it's so much easier to have the cords even which means there's less adjusting you have to do afterwards. Now we're going to add 2 more tassels using some of the scrap cords that we have cut off from the tassels at the bottom. We're going to take 8 strands of cord at about 30 centimeters long each. Some of them may be longer depending on the lengths of your scrap cords. But first we're going to start by threading through a shorter scrap cord, if you have any, at around 20 to 30 centimeters long. And thread it through the loop in the middle of the front daisy pattern. Then skipping an inch or 2 underneath, make an overhand knot. Then taking our 8 strands of 30 centimeter scrap cords, we're going to bring them underneath the overhand knot. The overhand knot should sit approximately the middle part of the 8 strands of cord. Then taking another scrap cord, what we're going to do is tie an overhand knot at the front, gathering all the cords together. And then using the same cords, we're going to tie an overhand knot at the back. Then bring the vertical cords up at the top, down to the bottom, and spread them out so that there is coverage all the way around. And make sure that the cords are pretty even at the bottom as well. Then taking another scrap cord at 30 centimeters long, make a gathering knot underneath the large overhand knot inside. Once you're done with the gathering knot, pull on the cords underneath to even out the tassel. To finish it off, trim the tassel at the bottom. Once we're done with the tassel at the front, at the back, where we have the 2 shorter anchor cords, we're going to make an overhand knot and repeat the same thing for another tassel here. Once you have the tassels done at the back and at the front, we are now complete with this pattern.
And that is all for today. I really hope you guys enjoyed following along in making this macrame cap bed. Remember, the possibilities are endless when it comes to creating your own unique macrame designs. With a little bit of creativity and patience, you can create a comfortable and stylish space for your furry friend. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up and let me know in the comment section below what your favorite part of this unique design was. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.